CTV News with Lauren Stallone.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We begin tonight in Sarnia, where steps are now being taken to try and secure the future of a regional airport. As Jerry Dewan reports, finding a new purpose is at the forefront of the conversation.
It's a question that fueled a months-long debate over Sarnia's Chris Hadfield Airport.
Can airports continue to be community hubs?
The Hadfield Airport saw its last commercial passenger aircraft take off in 2020 after Air Canada suspended the service. This week, Air Canada began using the Hadfield Airport as a bus terminal, taking passengers to Toronto to catch their plane. The loss of passenger flights also meant the end of federal government infrastructure funding designed to support passenger service. That put the airport into a deficit situation. Despite having no aviation background, Sarnia Councillor Adam Kilner wanted to find a way forward for the airport.
Allow kind of council and quite a number of community advocates catalyze this moment.
Council grappled with the best way to approach that process. One path was through a municipal services corporation, or MSC, which would include a board of directors and an independent airport administrator. The other was to have the administrator take direction from city council.
Until we can secure a reasonable revenue source to sort of look after substantially all the costs, bringing on more costs, and that's what the MSC will do, is suicidal.
Kilner argued the best prospect for success was through the MSC, which is where council landed.
If you've got a community of experts, use them. This should not, city councillors probably should not be operating an airport.
Kilner says council members reviewed a number of business cases where airports have operated without passenger airline service. Prime among them is St. Thomas Airport, which has established itself as a center for aircraft repair.
Hangars upon hangars of mechanics, fixing helicopters, fixing Porter Airlines jets.
He also sees a possible tie to the federal government's border protection strategy.
Defense Canada wanting to do more things. Well, we're a border city and we're a pretty critical border crossing, so why don't we connect over some projects there?
Kilner notes that Sarnia's Chemical Valley continues to be home to many multinational companies. He believes having a vibrant airport sends a strong economic development message. In Sarnia, Jerry Dewan, CTV News.
In January, City Council extended a lifeline to a proposal for a 38-story high-rise on York Street. But almost 6 months later, and little progress has been reported. CTV's Daryl Newcomb has the latest.
A planning application to build a high-rise on this unused parking lot at York and Colborne was last in front of the Planning and Environment Committee in January. But a rare second chance in front of the committee might not result in a breakthrough. City staff still recommend refusing the application to permit a 38-story, 422-unit residential tower at 415 York Street, citing unresolved concerns about its height and proximity to potential natural gas fumes from the nearby London District Energy plant. The Planning and Environment Committee had extended a lifeline to the application until the end of June, directing staff to consult with the developer about adjusting the height and ensuring studies were done to show compatibility with the district energy facility.
What's maybe an appropriate middle ground between the 15 that's allowed in the plan versus the 38 that the applicant asked for.
Natural gas fumes that are coming out their stack, that wasn't there when those apartment buildings were built across the street.
A new staff report says to date, a land use compatibility assessment has not been completed by the developer and no design changes have been made to the building. In the almost 6 months since this property was in front of the Planning Committee, there have been two significant changes. The installation of this very large electronic billboard and an amendment to the application requesting a holding provision that would prevent shovels from going in the ground until a compatibility study showed no negative impacts from surrounding properties. But city staff say that holding provision doesn't adequately address their previous concerns. Also, a lawyer for London District Energy writes in a letter that despite requesting meetings directly and through legal counsel, quote, the applicant has elected not to consult with LDE on its application. Furthermore, the environmental studies that they have submitted to the city do not account for the presence or operation of the LDE facility. Meanwhile, the Midtown Community Association would like to see the project approved. writing, quote, "This property has remained vacant for far too many years, and its ongoing underuse has held back progress in a key part of Midtown." The high-rise application will be back in front of the Planning and Environment Committee on June 22nd. Daryl Newcomb, CTV News.
The province's police watchdog has cleared an OPP officer of any wrongdoing after a fatal shooting in February. The Special Investigations Unit says the officer located the 48-year-old man wanted for a series of break-and-enters near Port Elgin. The man fled in a vehicle and crashed into a snowbank. He then demanded car keys from a nearby homeowner. He pointed a gun when approached by the officer and fired at the suspect. He was later pronounced dead at the hospital. Meanwhile, provincial police are investigating after 2 people died in a crash near Simcoe. Emergency crews were called to Blue Line Road and Concession 6 Thursday afternoon for a crash between an SUV and an off-road utility vehicle. The driver and passenger of the off-road vehicle were pronounced deceased at the scene. A third occupant was rushed to hospital with serious injuries. The SUV driver was also hurt and taken for treatment. London firefighters were kept busy overnight. Around 11 o'clock, crews were met with flames coming from a balcony at a Kent Street apartment building. One person had to be rescued and was taken to hospital for smoke inhalation. Crews also dealt with a kitchen fire in an apartment on Richmond Street near the university. One person was treated for minor burns and smoke inhalation. The man accused of killing his girlfriend in a London home nearly 3 years ago spent another day on the witness stand, saying he acted in self-defense and never intended to kill 22-year-old Caitlin Jennings. CTV's Rita Ismail has more.
For the third day in a row, 53-year-old David Yates continued testifying about the volatile relationship that he had with his former girlfriend, 22-year-old Caitlin Jennings. Proceedings began with defense lawyer Cassandra DeMello continuing her examination, focusing on nearly a dozen notebook entries Yates made in the days following Jennings' death. One entry read, "The reality is settling in. I killed my best friend." Graphic images showing bruising to Jennings' face, legs, and arms were entered as exhibits. When asked about the injuries, Yates testified, "I was trying to get her off of me, and she was kicking at me. Like I said, I was just trying to get her off. She wasn't stopping." Yates maintained that Jennings had physically attacked him on several occasions during arguments, often related to her sexual history. The events at the center of the case unfolded between July 2nd and 3rd, 2023, at a residence on Kingsway Avenue in London. The court has heard that Yates struck Jennings with a hammer in what he claims was self-defense. He testified he did not realize the extent of her injuries when she later went to lie down. An autopsy revealed that Jennings suffered more than 200 injuries and died from multiple blunt force trauma injuries. Yates was arrested at the scene and has pled not guilty to second-degree murder. Before concluding his testimony Friday, Yates told the court, "I never meant to kill anyone. The thought never entered my head. I never gave it a thought. I was just trying to get her off of me. I did not know those injuries were life-threatening." The Crown is expected to begin its cross-examination Monday in St. Thomas. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
A portion of Victoria Park was taken over today to mark the 30th year of Indigenous Solidarity Day. Sean Irvin reports.
Indigenous community members and dancers join veterans, politicians, and emergency response leaders in a welcoming ceremony to mark Indigenous Solidarity Day.
This is one of the most important days for our people, for Anishinaabe and for Cree people and Indigenous people all across Turtle Island.
The event moved to Victoria Park this year in part to encourage enhanced connections with First Nation members who live in the City of London.
I think anyone that pops in here will feel that energy, feel that respect, feel that understanding.
As people of all ages experienced the arts and Indigenous vendors offered locally made goods, there were signs that cultures are coming together, but progress remains slow.
It's taken us a long time to get the communities to understand, the courts, the hospitals, the jails, to take care of the First Nation people.
Out of our community, those things have been taken away. So the fact that we're doing this right downtown, it's an opportunity for everyone.
When we come together and we heal, and we do things in a good way, that we always need that dance, we always need those songs.
Sean Irvin, CTV News.
A new poll from Liaison Strategies finds the Ontario Liberals are building momentum. This comes after the Premier got into a battle with another polling firm earlier this week. CTV's Siobhan Morris reports.
He's the face of the Ontario government and the Progressive Conservative Party. But public opinion polling reveals more trouble for Doug Ford's personal brand.
We're really seeing that number take a bit of a beating.
In a survey of 1,000 Ontarians last week, Liaison Strategies found support for the Premier at just 26%. 69% disapprove of the job he's doing, and 66% of those asked believe Ontario is headed in the wrong direction.
I think to a certain extent it's death by 1,000 cuts. Yeah. The government's been in place for so long, it's accumulated a lot of baggage.
The government's purchase and return of a $30 million jet is still circling in the minds of Ontarians, something captured by pollster Angus Reid earlier this week. It puts support for Ford at just 21%, the lowest point since he became Premier.
I love this Angus Reid. They put this fake poll out,
accusing the nonprofit firm of sampling from opposition caucuses and ridings.
The truth of the matter is we'd form a massive majority if the election was held today. For the fourth time. Good to see you.
The president of Angus Reid says she stands by their record of independent, nonpartisan research and has sent a legal letter to the Premier telling CTV News, "We do not intend to litigate this issue in the media, but we do believe the public record should be corrected." The Premier's office has not responded to our request for a response.
His comments are delusional.
It sounds a lot like Donald Trump.
The interim Liberal leader doesn't think this week's numbers are a surprise to Ontarians.
The things that they count on, like their hospitals, their schools, their health care, having a family doctor, life being affordable, it's just not there.
The head of the NDP says the Premier should learn a lesson from these polls, to listen to regular people instead of friends.
It's the people who he's building the giant parking garages for. It's the people that he's trying to please by, allowing jets to land at the island airport.
The brands of all the major parties will be tested with 2 provincial by-elections in the coming months. In Scarborough Southwest, that's typically an NDP riding, and in York Simcoe, where PCs have dominated. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
A London group is hoping to fill what it believes is a major gap in addictions treatment for men. After a short-lived opening earlier this year, the Forest City Healing Center is attempting to relaunch. But as CTV's Brian Bicknell tells us, it continues to face significant financial challenges.
Drunk driver hit me from behind at a stop sign, and from that I got prescribed opioids.
Drew Weir knows what it's like to have a substance addiction and be in need of support. Now in recovery, he wants to help others get clean. He and a partner are attempting to relaunch Forest City Healing Center.
When they decide they want to stop using substances, they have the ability to come to a center like this, go through a structured program, learn a bunch about themselves, be around like-minded people, and have the opportunity to leave here after a period of time where they've had that chance to rebuild themselves.
Located at Queens and William, the facility would serve as a therapeutic recovery residence for men. It had opened earlier this year, but only for a couple of months, after financial and regulatory hurdles forced its closure.
Part of it is my lack of experience in the business world. There's a lot of moving parts to function something like this, 20 beds, big facility, large staff.
The center has now partnered with London-based KGK Science, which provides wellness supports.
With psychotherapy, with treatment, with various different treatments, with nutrition, looking after the whole person and helping them to cope with their trauma.
The founders here stressed that what this place is not is a shelter. Rather, it's an abstinence-based program to help men through their addictions until they're ready to step back out into the world. Weir says several $100,000 has already already been invested into the facility. He says he's hoping to raise an additional $300,000 to $500,000 to be able to reopen this September. The group is looking for private sponsors and has launched an online fundraising campaign.
There's been no government handouts or city handouts or anything. This is strictly citizens of the city that know this has to be here.
Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
When we come back, U.S. officials say Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to a new ceasefire. Canada's main stock index edged lower as the price of gold fell. In Toronto, the TSX fell 112, and American stock and commodity markets are closed for the Juneteenth holiday. On currency markets, the Canadian dollar lost a fifth of a cent. Face-to-face negotiations between the U.S. and Iran were supposed to start in Switzerland, but have been postponed. Meantime, Hezbollah and Israel have agreed to a ceasefire hours after trading deadly strikes. ABC's Olivia Rubin breaks it down for us.
After deadly Israeli strikes overnight in Lebanon, today a potential breakthrough. Israel and Hezbollah agreeing to a new ceasefire. According to a U.S. official, it's a key part of the new 60-day deal between the U.S. and Iran, which calls for peace around the region. Israel not part of the drafting of that deal. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with the Lebanese president today, who, according to the State Department, said disarming Hezbollah and reestablishing control over all Lebanese territory are priorities. In an interview with Axios today, President Trump discussing his relationship with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
It's good, but we have to keep him a little bit sane.
Negotiations for further agreements between the U.S. and Iran were supposed to start today in Switzerland, but Vice President J.D. Vance didn't go. Those talks called off at the last minute. A spokesperson for Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs saying the memo was signed, but there was no urgent need to meet, though plans are being made for a meeting in the coming days. President Trump today saying this.
We have an agreement that was signed last night. And it's 60 days. They have to make a deal. Otherwise, we will do things that won't make them happy. But I don't think it's going to get to that. I think it's going to be very good.
Back at home, some within the president's own party slamming the deal he made with Iran, which lifts all sanctions and could let them rake in billions of dollars.
Giving billions of dollars to theocratic lunatics who want to murder us is an exceptionally bad idea.
And new questions about what the U.S. is getting in return here. Iran in the deal not committing to destroying its nuclear stockpile, just agreeing to negotiate it over the next 60 days. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, New York.
In London, England, at least one person has died after a crash between two passenger trains. Video from the scene shows the trains stopped on the tracks. You can see emergency workers in the field off to the side. One passenger told the BBC it felt like a bomb had exploded. Officials said a number of people were injured. It's not clear how this happened.
Good evening. I'm meteorologist Gary Archibald for CTV News. We are looking at the potential for inclement weather through the overnight, relatively speaking, just light showers. One system has worked its way across eastern portions of the country. The next is certainly going to be impacting us for perhaps Saturday afternoon, coming from the Midwestern USA. I think showers and thunder showers for Saturday afternoon, a good possibility, but Sunday looks a lot better. Perfect timing for Father's Day. I'll break down a sunny Father's Day forecast for you coming up after this break.
Gary joins me now. Gary, we had a beautiful day out there today. What's our weekend looking like?
Yeah, it was gorgeous. You're right about that, Lauren. I think, well, partially beautiful, Sunday in particular. Saturday, the afternoon, possible showers, maybe thunderstorm activity as well. Today, glorious 23, that's seasonal. Our average high between, I would say, the city limits and the outer periphery, if you will, between 23 and 25 degrees Celsius. It was gorgeous in Strathroy. Hello to our friends there. And For our friends headed towards maybe cottage country, there's going to be some showers for Saturday, but Sunday looks good. And it's the system coming in from the west, in particular, right over northern parts of Michigan, and with some inducing levels of energy, possible showers, thunder showers, maybe even some gusty winds, say about 4, 5, 6 p.m. for Saturday. Sunday, things clear out. The system will have already moved off well to the east. The rainfall tallies are not impressive. The computer model simulation takes us out to about, well, early to mid-afternoon. Less than 5 millimeters for Sarnia. The computer model's not really picking up much, at least until about 6 o'clock, supper time for most. 5 to 10 millimeters is actually anticipated for the city of London. So, rain Saturday afternoon. The overnight tonight, though, technically pre-dawn, we'll see temperatures in the lower single digits, 7 degrees in Goderich, up to about 14 in Long Point, 12 in Port Stanley, and London, about 9 degrees Celsius. So here it is for Saturday. Possible slight chance, 30% chance of an occurrence. At 8 a.m., cloudy, and rain and or thunder showers moving through in the afternoon. I think you'll see it closer to about 4 or 5 p.m. So a bit wet towards the latter stage of the day. But the morning doesn't look too bad. Sunday's so much better. Perfect timing for dads. Happy Father's Day to you all. Enjoy it with your families, of course. Monday, Tuesday, we'll go from cool and showers to fair weather, showers through the midweek, and then ending on a bright note Friday with some mostly sunny conditions across the region. Midwest, similar looking forecast for the weekend. The morning's fair, the afternoon cloudy with showers, maybe some thunderstorm activity. Sunny on Sunday for Father's Day, perfect. Monday's rainy, high probability. And then Tuesday's fair, midweek rainy, lower temperatures through the overnights possible this weekend. And next week, anticipate rain to start the work week. That wraps up your weather. Once again, happy Father's Day to dads. Lauren?
Thanks, Gary. A warning to viewers now, as some may find the details in the following story disturbing. Canada's medical community is speaking out after a pediatrician in Quebec took her own life at just 35 years old. She left behind a note saying burnout contributed to her decision. CTV's Angela McKenzie reports.
In April, Dr. Karina Poliquin, a pediatrician in Trois-Rivières, took her own life. She was 35 years old. In the months leading up to her death, while doctors were in negotiations with the Legault government, she spoke publicly about the lack of support for healthcare workers and about her own struggle with burnout.
She was very present on social media. She talked about children care, children health. She also denounced the lack of resources in the healthcare system, and her death was like a big shock in the whole medical community.
Reporter Marie-Claude Paradis-Desfossés met with one of Dr. Poliquin's friends who shared part of the letter she left behind. I can't ignore the fact that medicine has broken me. This world, despite some incredible people, is so inhuman at times. They add she was worried and says she was given warnings when she spoke to the media. In a statement to Nouveau Info, the regional health board writes, "Our organization has implemented various initiatives to support the mental health of its staff. These include a peer support network, awareness-raising activities, training sessions, and regular reminders about available support resources." But Dr. Poliquin's death could be a symptom of a much deeper problem.
Actually, there is more than 11% of the doctors that have had some suicidal thought during the past year. And if you compare with the general population, it's less than 3%. So it's a huge difference.
In the same national survey by the Canadian Medical Association, nearly 46% reported high levels of burnout. It rises to 49% among women. 65% of physicians sought psychological support, an 11% increase since 2021.
The first thing I said to myself is, it could have been me.
Dr. Stephen Palinchuk says Dr. Polikin's death brought him back to a time years ago when he was struggling. He knows at least 5 colleagues who have died by suicide. Now he addresses physician mental health in his podcast.
I want to show that we are not alone feeling this kind of way, and the more we talk about it, the better it will be.
I started feeling sick to my stomach.
Dr. Jean-Paul Brutus suffered burnout twice before deciding to leave the public system. The plastic surgeon says there were clinic days when he would see as many as 100 patients. Many doctors and advocates Nouveau Info spoke to cite work overload, constant pressure, and a lack of resources as contributing factors for burnout.
Most of us doctors know doctors who've taken their lives. And I personally know of about 4, personally. But I also know indirectly of well over 20.
Some experts say physician distress is still taboo, and precise data on the number of doctors who die by suicide doesn't exist in Canada. That has some calling for change, including improved data collection.
A doctor who dies, or a doctor who's unable to work for medical leave or whatnot, that's a lot of patients who don't have a doctor anymore.
An issue many want to see urgently addressed to prevent more tragedies in the future. Angela McKenzie, CTV News.
CTV News London has a newsletter helping you start your day with the latest local headlines. By signing up, you'll get local news content from CTV London direct to your inbox, including top stories, the forecast, and videos. You can sign up at ctvnewslondon.ca.
Finally tonight, some tense moments in California when a shark was spotted circling a surfer. This drone video was taken off the coast of Santa Cruz recently. The shark was seen lurking after the man on the board caught its attention. The predator began to close in, circling the surfer. At one point, it went right up behind the man, closing to within a few feet before peeling off. But through all of this, it's unknown if the surfer had any idea that the shark was even there. That's our time tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Lauren Stallone. Have a good night.